Right. Let's get kicked off, well, because we've got a short amount of time to get started. So I thought what we'll do is we'll just do intros now while everyone's coming in, and then we can just get started on the content. So welcome everybody to our webinar. Today we're going to be talking about fast data, fast funding. So helping clients maximize their opportunities and insights. So if that's the webinar you're looking for, you're in the right place. If not, you're in the wrong place, but it's going to be a good discussion. So I'd maybe just pull up a seat and stay. Now let's get the intros out the way. So myself will rattle through my intro because no one really is here to see me, I don't think. So my name's Sean Smith. I'm the accountant evangelist at AutoEntry. In terms of my background, so I was an accountant many years ago. I kind of jumped over to the software side because I'm a bit of a geek anyway. That was always the bit that interested me. And I've been working for various tech companies over the years, mostly in customer success roles. So I've spent a lot of time on the road working with accounting firms, helping them implement different products or implementing new services, change management, all these kind of areas, whatever kind of grabbed my interest over the years. But that's me, but we're of course joined by Andrea. Andrea, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Hello, everyone. My name's Andrea Reynolds, and I'm CEO and founder of Swoop. And Swoop is essentially a platform for accountants to find funding for their businesses, for their clients, using their data, which is what we're going to talk about today. My background, I started my career in KPMG, did nearly 20 years in practice myself, set up my own corporate finance firm, and it was through that process of raising funding for my clients across every form of funding and seeing how time consuming it was, how laborious it was. And so with the emergence of cloud accounting and open banking, I thought there has to be an easier way for us as accountants to be able to help our clients. And that was the basis of forming Swoop.
Awesome. Right, so let's get cracking. What does fast data mean? I think it's probably good to kind of split this distinction between like what it means for the client, right, and then what it means for the accountant. So if we start with the sort of client side of things, I guess from my point of view, fast data is like the client being able to see the results of what they're handing over, if that makes sense, I suppose. So like they're handing over the classic kind of bag and box of receipts, right? And then 9 months after the year end, they get this set of accounts, and it's, well, what sort of magic and mystics happened here between the two kind of points of that journey. And I think for me, fast data is kind of the idea of actually they can maybe capture some of that stuff themselves and then see the result in their bank or see the result on their sales ledger or whatever it is. But I kind of wanted to maybe, I think our experiences in practice are probably quite different, Andrea. And so maybe I wanted to kind of see what was it like for you in terms of that data, fast data piece, and then how does that kind of contrast with my experience maybe?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I'm the one who can talk about the shoebox state.
Well, we still had them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that was how it all was. Specifically when I went into corporate finance and started looking at, okay, not just doing, looking at their management accounts, etc. It was more around gathering of the data, the information, and having to repackage it in different ways to then go to a bank, to go to a non-bank lender, to go to a grant agency to say, oh, are we eligible? And here's our application. And doing that in a very manual way where, you're getting the financial statements, you're asking them to pull the bank statements, you're having to reappropriate the information specific to the way that provider wants to read it. That was super time consuming, never mind searching for what they were eligible for based on the financial data. So it was, for me, fast data is integrate the accounting software, and then the platform does the rest. It matches to eligibility. It pulls together the applications exactly the way the provider wants to see it. So cutting out, I mean, you're talking weeks of work, and that's the value of,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I remember being asked to do like a mortgage application once, and it was a nightmare. But the problem was, certainly for our firm, is we didn't, I guess we've learned from this, well, I hope they've learned from this now, we never really sort of like processed out what we did. So every time we got a request for, you know, mortgage or funding or whatever it was, we were kind of starting from scratch and had to go and go and ask for all the data, you know, from when they asked, kind of idea.
Clients. Yeah, we all have clients who go, I need funding now, and then they disappear. And then you're chasing them, and they've asked you to do a model, or they've asked you, and then by the time it comes back around again, it's all out of date. And every provider wants up-to-date management accounts, etc. So, so you have to start all over. And so the idea of data is, once it's integrated, you can refresh it immediately and not have to chase them for another 2 weeks to try and help them with what they tell you is super urgent. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And then from the accountant's point of view, I guess it's in the realms of like, if you've got the data there, like if you're working in real time, this kind of like ideal scenario of working in real time, when that funding application comes in, or the funding request, or like, can I get funding, whatever it is, you can kind of just like answer it there and then. So like in terms of the elevated service there, it really stands you out from the competition. And then the question I was maybe going to pose to you was the proactive bit. Yeah, there you go.
You're nail on the head. That is exactly it. You can become proactive. You can, in addition to delivering the monthly managements, the year ends, you can be proactive and say, by the way, you're eligible for this local grant. That's another 50,000 project costs or whatever. By the way, you can save on your energy bills. So we're being proactive advisors rather than reactive. And then the second part is the workload. You know, if you do have a client who's acquiring another business, etc., they're more likely than not coming to you for the financial model. Obviously, you're charging for those services, but that can be quite laborious. So integrating to other like we have with Futrli, where we've now actually developed with Futrli all the templates for the providers. So loan scenario analysis, covenant, stress testing, etc. Just making our lives easier through technology and data. Why shouldn't we? We've enough to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, from the client's point of view, imagine what that kind of feels like in terms of like the service level you're receiving, that kind of proactive. Your accountant's coming to you saying, oh, did you know that you could be getting this? It just feels like they really are, you know, caring and looking at your numbers and interested in you, right? They value you. Really good service. Yes. Talking about, so this is a slide on client touch points kind of like throughout their journey. But I guess my question to you is like, where do you see the Swoop conversation coming in? Because I guess typically your mind would default to like client reporting, but I wonder if you have a different opinion on that.
I do. No surprise
there. That's
there.
Quite far along the journey, isn't it? We're all the way over at like 0.5 at that point.
Yeah, we've two types of accountants on our platform. One is, oh my God, I need this in my pocket, for reacting with knowledge and with understanding of exactly what my client is eligible for if they come looking for it, or if they ask me during the reporting phase, or if I learn what their plans are during my annual review, etc. The other side is, actually, we want to be proactive and be seen as a trusted advisor to our clients, and we want to bring that value from day one. So we have a lot of firms now, and we've worked with the ICAW, and we do a lot of webinars with the ICAW on this very thing, where it's when you're at engagement level, why not put funding advisory services in there? So at the proposal phase, or if they come to you and say, here's what I'm thinking, that you have a proposal ready, so we've worked with Go Proposal, we've worked with the ICAW on all of the wording that meets their legal and compliance team to help accountancy firms move into this space. So for me, the earlier the better, where you're seen as a proactive, trusted advisor. But it doesn't matter at what point, just be armed and be comfortable that you can respond in the way that your client wants you to.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, right? The being armed bit, because I think that's what would intimidate me, right? If I was doing a new service arm or new service offering, it's always, how do I go about it? Am I doing it the right way? And especially if it's in the kind of legal space where you've got to have the right wording and things like that, can be quite intimidating, I think.
And
so
yeah,
really important.
We surveyed this with the ICAEW. The two obstacles to firms dipping their toe into this space is being educated and knowledgeable, and then being compliant with your professional body. So we've overcome both. We have a CPD platform on Swoop, so you can take all your education there. You've got a team of experts, you've got the platform, and you've got the wording, and that's all now transferred over to Go Proposal as well. So it's in their product as well. So we're trying everything to help.
Yes, you're halfway there, right?
Yeah.
Before you even start. And I think bringing it forward from that, client reporting piece all the way to the engagement letter or the proposal stage, I think is really important for like that proactive, but even just like an awareness piece. Because I wonder how many clients are actually aware of the whole funding world and that kind of idea and the things that are available to them. Of course, if it's on that proposal stage and you're saying, oh, this might not be important to you now, but just so you know, this is something that we do, that awareness is in there. And suddenly when you bring up the conversation, it's not so much of a shock or a surprise. You're not having to reinvent the wheel or completely educate the client on what you're talking about, which I think is super valuable.
I mean, pre-COVID and post-COVID, 70% of UK businesses have never applied for a grant.
There you go.
Never applied, so there's a lot there that we can unlock for our clients, I feel, that would help them survive and grow. So I think that's the idea.
Awesome. So if we talk a little bit now, we move on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about auto entry. So we're talking about this fast data. So I guess I just wanted to cover from my point of view how auto entry kind of fits into that picture, right? Because of course it's the old adage of like garbage in, garbage out, right? Like you're not going to be able to make any good insights or decisions if you've not got the data available to do it. So just for everyone on the call, I'll just go through kind of like how auto entry works and how you can kind of implement it, I suppose. So with the advent of open banking, of course, that's probably the easiest way to get data in nowadays, especially from your bank, right? So you don't need the PDFs, or if they give you a PDF and you want a CSV and all that kind of back and forth, you don't need to do any of that anymore. You can literally just connect your bank, it's straight into your general ledger, whichever ledger you kind of lean towards. But then if that's not an option, or for things that aren't connected to open banking, so your invoices, receipts, all that kind of idea, auto entry kind of sits in your mobile or on your laptop. And what happens is you'll get your receipt, whatever that is. So maybe it's from a till because you're at Screwfix, or petrol station, or you buy something online, right? So you can capture those receipts on your phone rather than kind of typically just scrunching them up and throwing them in the glove box or wherever they kind of end up. And if you purchase something by email, you'll quite often nowadays, even at tills, they'll say, give me your email address and we'll send you the invoice or the receipt by email. You can just forward it to a specific email address at auto entry. So that's your kind of two main routes in. You can also scan documents in and things like that. Once it's in there, that's where all the smart starts to kick in. So you've got machine learning and AI built into auto entry, and it will scan those documents. It recognizes the kind of common ones, and it's able to pull out like the really the important information: your date, time, the amount, the VAT rates, like customer name, all these kind of pieces, and then it pushes that through into your general ledger. So really taking out a lot of the time that I remember spending typing up this kind of stuff and highlighting it or ticking it off, ironing out the receipts that were all crinkled and they've got the tea stain on them and stuff like that. And so that's where auto entry sits and how it works. So for me, it's really like it's your kind of like your lifeblood. Like I think if you use like a Sage or a Xero or a QuickBooks in isolation, you're not getting the full value out of it. I think you really kind of need to be using an auto entry or data capture tool of choice into the ledger. Otherwise, you're not getting the full value of both, in my opinion, anyway.
Agreed,
So
Sean.
sorry, yeah.
I like, you might not even know this, but we're working on a proof of concept and an experiment with auto entry on when they do come through, how we can analyze the spend and get them better deals. So where you would look at something like your energy invoices, you know, SMEs are basically the most overcharged customer segment in the energy sector. So looking at then how we can get better rates so we can return an insight back to the customer. So it's just that thing of, it's amazing what we can all do today, but it's not going to be that long before we've even better features serving clients even more. Yeah, so it's exciting times.
Yeah, that's really cool. Why don't I'll give you a bit of a platform, Andrea, to talk about Swoop as well. So once we've got that data coming in, what, like you say, what can we do with it?
Yeah. The whole idea behind this is we have this huge funding landscape in the UK, yet our clients are struggling to access finance. And so the power of us as accountants being able to sit there and assist with that is what Swoop is all about. And being an accountant, when I was raising funding for my clients, a lot of them weren't actually eligible for a loan. And so I would go and look for grants for them or indeed tax credits. We all try every avenue possible to keep our clients alive and helping them grow and with their growth plans. So the idea behind Swoop is, yes, you can integrate their accounting software, their bank accounts. We pull data from Companies House. We give you a credit report on your client, etc., for you to share. All of this analysis for them, but essentially what we're doing is using that data to match it to and curate exactly what your clients are eligible for. And that is across every form of funding. So we cover every grant that is open when they close, when one launches that's eligible for your client, lending, every form, everything from commercial mortgages right through to unsecured lending, merchant cash advances, right through to equity investment. So we have a platform of investment funds, so the seed stage, the angel stage, right up to sort of if you're raising 5 million and above, all the British Business Bank funds. And then we look at, once the data is there, where can we return cash back into the business? So that's the idea behind using the data. And the purpose of this is that you can use it across every client stage. So if you have a startup, a growth, expansion established, it doesn't matter. Because we've covered the entire funding landscape, the data curates it exact to the life cycle as well as the sector, financials, etc., of the business. And so that's the idea behind it. It's to help all of us accountants to become better funding advisors.
There you go. Yeah, because it sounds like, I mean, all the things you were listing off there, it sounds like there's a lot of information out there. So it would almost be like a sort of paralysis by analysis from my point of view of like, where would I start to look? Or even if I knew where to look, there'd be so much information, right? So it sounds like it would be, if I could just get a list.
Going, but where do I go? Where do I go to know about this? And that's, I think they're all powered by the work that we do and the education and the content we create for our accountants to actually be able to deliver that message back.
Yeah, awesome. So if we sort of, I guess, move on quickly to talking about how you would maybe implement something like this. So if you're looking and you're thinking, yeah, we actually want to like streamline how we're getting data into the practice a lot better, or we're wanting to, you know, deliver more insights and more value to our customers through what we can use that data for, like you're saying with Swoop, then how do we kind of approach implementing that? Because I think that's always the tough bit, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I want to do that, I want that end goal, that ideal state, but where do I kind of start? And so for me, a lot of the auto entry stuff is about habit forming. And this is an NHS study that made me feel a lot better about my relationship with clients, because I found it quite difficult to get people to use auto entry and snap pictures on their mobile app, and I thought it was down to me not being able to explain it very well or whatever it was. But actually in this NHS report, it says it takes somewhere in the region of like 30 days, 4 weeks of constantly doing something to like create a habit. And actually it only takes like 2 or 3 days to break that habit. And so I think for me, it's about habit forming. So trying to, I guess, use a bit of a carrot to kind of show why it's important that the data comes in quickly, and then create some kind of like anchor. So I've already mentioned it today. It's like take that picture before you throw the receipt away or scrunch it up, and kind of like anchor that into their behavior. So it's like snap it and then throw it. Maybe come up with a cool saying, I don't know. And that's kind of like the first stage that I worked towards in terms of implementing auto entry. And I think actually, having heard about Swoop today, that would be a really good carrot for me, because I would say like it was like the generalistic advisory piece that I would sort of say like, oh, do you want your reports to your account sooner? Get the data to us sooner. That was my carrot when I was trying to get them to do auto entry. But actually, if you can sweeten that pot and say, actually, you know, we can unlock funding, we can look at different grants that you didn't even know were available to you, but we need that data in. That sounds great. I think I will start snapping those receipts kind of idea.
Yeah.
But is there any insights from your kind of side? So that's like auto entry, but like obviously you've got practices using Swoop and using it successfully. Like, is there any kind of like cool things that they did or key things that they did that you can share?
Yeah, we've got firms who are very focused on utilizing digital tools to expand their practice relevancy, and expand their practice revenue. So we have ones who we haven't had to teach them anything, teach their clients anything, because they're attracting clients where they're saying we're utilizing these tools to give you the best service. So their clients are, the expectation is set with the client that this is what we're going to do, and actually the clients are starting to expect that themselves. But what we find for the habits that we're trying to form here are within the firms themselves. The clients love it. I mean, what client is not going to love you showing up telling them, this is what you're eligible for, this is where you can save money, this is why you won't get a loan right now, but let's improve things, etc. Who is going to not want that? Where we're finding that the habit forming needs to take place is actually within the firms themselves. So what we actually challenge firms to do is say, do you know what, just take a subgroup and test it. Use this on these clients at the end of the year, your quarterly. You use your normal on this, see which is the happier client at the end of it, and I think then that forms your basis for going, actually the impact here is amazing. And now I'm going to roll this out, and now I'm going to roll this out across the firm. So I think it's dipping the toe in if funding advisory is a new aspect to your business. But I can tell you, the ones that have fully embraced it with their clients, well, they're having significant revenues as well as having loyal customers. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I guess moving on to like the practice improvement plans of just based on the projects I've done over the years. That first point's really important, I think. So assigning like a plan owner. I think you know, back in the day when I first was a consultant, I think that was maybe one of my pitfalls, was I never really had like a proper project plan and an owner. I never created an owner within the firms. I think that's really important. I think as well, it's important that that owner has some kind of like authority or control over the destiny of the project. So not, which I've seen before, is not the sort of decision maker saying, actually, yeah, here you go, here's the project, and you give it to like one of the managers, and then they are tasked with telling the other managers what to do, but actually don't have any authority over what they do. So they just say no, and then the project falls flat on its face. So like from the 4 that are there, I think that's probably the biggest one for me, is making sure that you have that owner, but then they also have license to push through and make the project a success.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any key ones there for you, Andrea, that kind of stand out.
I would agree with that, especially in the larger practices with multiple offices. They appoint champions, and then they run it as a project. And then once that you've got your proof points from that, then you start to find your other champions and roll it out. And the other part, well, from my perspective also, is involving anyone who's doing your digital marketing or your emails or your content. For us in particular, with the platform, you get a hub on what's going on in the market, and you can self-select, and your marketing team can create that really relevant touch point curated to their sector, etc. All that's there. So sometimes we find a partner will engage on it and almost keep the project to themselves, and you think you need to involve a few more, so you have a few champions across the firm, but then one plan owner. So I would definitely agree that's the route to success.
Awesome, yeah. And just a funny anecdote, I suppose, on that 4th one about measurable KPIs. Of course, it's important to have a measurable KPI, but I think what was quite interesting is I worked with a firm, and we were rolling out a project, and their goal was they wanted to make 15% return on each of the jobs that they were doing, right? And so I was like, okay, right, well, let's take a look at what you're making now. And they were making 17% return. So just knowing your data, right, is important before you set your KPIs. I just thought that was quite funny that they were aiming below where they already are. But anyway, I guess so kind of wrapping up then. So AutoEntry is free to try. You can literally go onto the website and sign up. So if dipping your toe in the kind of automated data capture space is something you want to do, then why not give it a go? You get 25 free credits when you do sign up. So that's like a small year-end job, right? You could just take that, run it in parallel, see who wins the machine or you typing it up, and kind of test it out and see how it goes for you. And then of course, we wouldn't just let you take out a free trial of AutoEntry, because we're talking here about Swoop as well. So there's sorry, I'll let Andrea talk about this, but the way you can kind of get involved with the Swoop as well.
Yeah, for us, you can contact directly or come on our site. And I suppose just for us, it's about adding value to your clients without you adding workload onto your day. That's the purpose of the platform. It's about adding new revenue into your firm, and because you're earning fees from the transactions that are successful for your businesses, and that's fully disclosed, etc., to your clients. You can decide whether you're doing that or not, and charge for extra services. And for us, what we're really finding for our firms, through the marketing content, through this digitization of your firm to help your clients, it's really raising profiles of a number of our accountancy firms that we're working with. And then it's also impacting forecasting, reporting, through integration, being able to deliver those things in a much more efficient way, where in the past we've all had to stress over Excel spreadsheets that can go wrong. So those are the key sort of benefits, I would say, to dipping your toe in. And same with us, because we're a Sage partner, we've got a discount program with Sage, and you can also try it for free if you wish. So yeah, we just are hoping that the community as a whole is moving in a direction of being a very valued part of a business and a business owner's life moving forward.
Awesome. And we've actually come in just on time as well, with one minute to go. It feels like that was very fast and a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I think that's the nature of these lunchtime webinars. That's the idea, that we get through a good amount of content quickly. But that's been, I hope it's been really valuable for all you guys. It's certainly been interesting for me to hear your insights, Andrea. And thank you very much for your time as well this afternoon. But without further ado, I guess we can say goodbye, and everyone enjoy the rest of your lunch break.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Thanks. Bye-bye.